his whole perspective is anti-longevity.
I don't like the endocrine system, which is like your natural testosterone production.
Is it a cheat code? Yes.
You can really do a lot for your looks with simple pharmaceutical intervention, stuff like TRT, taking an aromatase inhibitor so that your growth plates stay open longer.
But at the same time, we have to beware of cheat codes because cheat codes always come with a price, period.
So I use something similar to Ozempic called retatrutide. That's a peptide that basically suppresses my appetite because being lean is about 70% of what you could accomplish in terms of Looksmaxxing.
Looksmaxxing, it's the catch-all term for a male-only regimen of intensive grooming.
What do you think about some of this prescription drug usage at a young age?
My biggest concern is the prescription use, is the drug use, it is the hormone use.
Every interaction that you go into, you're gonna be better off with a good looks package. 2/3 of men by 21 years old are experiencing some form of male pattern baldness, so avoiding that is really going to be something that's crucial to maintaining those looks.
I agree.
So taking what's called a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, testosterone converts into dihydrotestosterone through this one enzyme in your body, so you're blocking that process because DHT is going to be a huge problem for your hair.
Clavicular, Looksmaxxing, testosterone, Ozempic, hair loss prescriptions, age 20.
IGF-1.
There's so much going on with this movement. It's now hit the mainstream. Dr. Ron Dummar. I'm Nick, the curious patient here, co-host of the Be Well Now podcast. I don't even know where to start.
That's a good
I
question.
want your reaction to the Looksmaxxing movement. This kid named Clavicular who's now hit the mainstream, but has been influencing teenage boys now, I think, for about a year. But these forums have been going on for a lot longer, and he's just captivated a lot of people.
Yeah, I think the Looksmaxxing movement, as it's based in Clavicular, if you look at him, he's really just trying to raise his status in society. That's the base of it all. And then he's looked at certain measurements as far as, his face, his jaw structure, his angulation of his facial bones, and then also, how lean he is. And he's determined, hey, these type of people seem to do better or to be perceived better in society. So why don't I make myself look more like that?
And he's not wrong that people who look better tend to be more successful, and across a lot of metrics probably.
Well, what do they say? Dress for success. Right?
Yeah, so the conceit that looks don't matter, we know that they do. And in this society, I don't think that it's him. I think he's a symptom, and he's captivated a lot of people for a reason. We could talk about the philosophy of Looksmaxxing or him as a human, but I'm really curious about him influencing people to potentially take steroids at a young age, to potentially get on testosterone at a young age, to potentially take GLP-1s, because he's like 70% of Looksmaxxing is about how lean you are.
That's
so
right.
we all know that skinny people are perceived
as more healthy
or better than fat, whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. So he's not saying things that are like.
He's not entirely wrong.
He's not entirely wrong. That's the right way to put it.
And let's say, when you study Eastern medicine or ancient Eastern cultures, there was a level of plumpness that was considered healthy. It was considered ideal. And leanness was actually equated to poverty, right? Because, obviously all the paupers, all the poor people, all the workers in the field, all the lower end people in society, you would suggest, they were lean. They were the most lean. And they probably had a decent amount of muscle mass as well. And so it was actually ideal in that society to have a little more plump, right? So I think we have to look at it as well and say, who's setting the bar and why are we establishing this? Well, it's each society, right? The society itself is the one that sets the bar. And images that create a demand for people or that sell, right? So things that, let's say, things that work in society. One of these aspects, and Clavicular, to his credit, actually talks a lot about this, is the porn aspect of this, right? Of Looksmaxxing. And, he uses, I think, Sydney Sweeney as a comparison. He's like, look, people who think that she's good looking are just completely off. But to be fair, when you look at society, a lot of people think that she's very good looking, right? But he's like, no, that's more about just society, some global leaders trying to push plumpness and things like that, and good sized breasts as being the ideal. And it's not. So he points out, and if you look at Sydney Sweeney, that her facial, she has like a recessed jawline slightly as well. And so there's a variety of flaws that he would point to. Now, she's obviously not poor. He would say that she's about average or maybe slightly above average, but he doesn't call her good looking. Okay.
He talks a lot about all the symmetrical features, how far your eyes
The
are.
angulation of the face, yep.
It's almost mathematical in the way that he talks about looks, and he just talks about.
Well, and that's been
just
studied
try
for a
to-
long
exactly.
time.
So it's like he's like, just try to improve your look at any cost, right?
Absolutely.
I was watching an interview. He's like, yeah, just take out student loans and pay for surgery. You won't get in that much trouble. And it's almost like, is he trying to be ridiculous, or is he? I think he might be genuine about this stuff.
Yeah, some things I think he's throwing out there. He knows he's a smart kid, and so he is literally trying to capture by some of the things that he says, right? He's just trying to throw it out there and for shock and awe effect, and it catches views, right? Catches people's attention. So,
I mean, the philosophical discussion is interesting. I think more interesting is your role as a doctor. And what do you think about some of this prescription drug usage at a young age?
my biggest concern is the prescription use, is the drug use, it is the hormone use that he underwent as well. The way it affects the dopamine receptors in the brain, the way it affects your physiology, the way it affects your testes and your endocrine system at large. And if you listen to him as well, he doesn't argue that. He actually suggests that he's looking to bypass the endocrine system. As a physician, I'm not looking to bypass the endocrine system. I'm looking to support your body and to support what you were born into this world with as much as possible. He's actually looking to, ideally on some level, replace that. And you'll hear him talk about things like, well, there are a lot of endocrine disruptors, which there are. He's not wrong. There are a lot of endocrine disruptors in our diet, in our exposures, in water sources. There's parabens, there's PCBs, there's forever chemicals. Like a lot of these things literally do. Monsanto's glyphosate, we've done a whole podcast on that. That's an endocrine disruptor. So there's strategies that we have to follow. And what he's saying, and this is what I'm concerned about, is there's no need to do the hard work. There's no need to dive into your physiology and make your physiology work right when you can tell it, overwhelm it, and coerce it or put it in chains to force it to work right.
Through pharmaceutical drugs. So he's using literally pharmaceutical drugs, and at some point he will have complete dependency, if he doesn't already, on pharmaceuticals. Is there anything wrong with that?
Is there anything wrong with that? If you lose supply of pharmaceuticals at any point, like if let's say, for instance, something like COVID ever happens again, or there's a supply chain disruption, or things get stuck in the Strait of Hormuz, right? Or you know what I mean, with these tankers or these shipments, if there's any sort of, we're such a global interacted country or world right now. We're so globally connected that if ever there's a supply chain disruption and, you have to go without for a while, well, that's a problem, right?
This kid has me questioning everything because I have this natural inclination to want to be autonomous and independent. Like if I got dropped in the woods, I don't think I'd do a very, good job of surviving. But, hypothetically, I'd like this feeling of like, I don't need anything in an orange bottle to survive, right? I tried to get off my antidepressants a while ago and I was on Adderall prescription, but I didn't feel right on it. I didn't like the fact that I had to take these every day. Ideally, I'd like to not be on caffeine. Today I've had 3 cups. The human condition is a tough one, but like we're all striving toward that North Star, and mine would be to just live as naturally and autonomously as possible, knowing that I'm dependent on this entire world and ecosystem just like everyone else. But yeah, I wonder about that. Like if you didn't have that philosophy and you're like, yeah, these pharmaceuticals are helping me.
100%.
I showed you another interview with this kid who CBS Morning News did an interview. He's on steroids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, I think he's a teenager.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if I have a heart attack at 30, I have a heart attack at 30. So I don't think it's just clavicular. I think there's a
little
movement
bit
of young boys. You have young boys. I do as well. And I'm really concerned that I don't know what to make of it all.
Yeah, there's almost a slight bit of nihilism in there where it's like, well, who cares? Like, this is the way our society's going. Like, I'm going to do this because that's just what that's how you be successful in society. That's what their interpretation of success in society is right now. And that's what Clavicular is basically broadcasting. He's a symptom, I would say, of us. He's a symptom of all of us as a community at large for the things that we have placed on a pedestal and the things that we've claimed to value or that we've placed value on. And he's looked at it and said, well, look, all these people that have higher incomes and seem to have, get more girls and, have these relationships and seem to be at this, type of nightlife adventure that I want to be in. Those people have these features. And so then he strives to get those features. So I don't see that as an unnatural desire. Like, I think it's actually a very natural desire to say, well, there's a successful person. What made them successful? Are there characteristics that they have that I think contributed to their success that I can also emulate?
I guess I'm just wondering if there's a parent out there watching this or listening to this, and if so, thank you for your time and your attention, and if you'd consider subscribing to the channel, that'd help a lot. Should their kid be on testosterone as a teenager?
I would say you absolutely need to make sure you consult. If you're ever thinking of doing that, you want to consult your physician, consult your doctor, talk to a natural health practitioner for sure. Maybe don't just do one doctor consult. Seek out get a few different people's opinions and see what they think about it. And then also consider, why would you be using it? Okay. If your child definitely has some sort of stunted growth or gonadotrophism or some sort of issue that they have, a hypoformation, then they may benefit from that, right? From a hormone. But if we're literally just Looksmaxxing, which is what we're talking about
That's
today,
what I'm talking about, yeah.
We're literally only going for, hey, if I do this, I'm going to be, putting myself in a place in society that's going to be better for me right now, right? That's what Clavicular is saying. I don't know that I agree with that. I think it's really just building a temple or building a tower that is going to come tumbling down. And just like, the kid on the CBS morning show said, he's like, well, if I get a heart attack, I get a heart attack.
At 30, and I was like, whoa, being a kid,
and
is
you
that
can,
really
because
the
those
mentality?
are risks of heart attack, or risks of heart-related issues, risks of fertility-related issues, of shrinking testes, of anger and emotional issues, and like a lack of being able to have a real connection with somebody, and so all of those things I think you're missing out on. You're literally building a facade. And so if you think of it from a biblical narrative, you could say there's the Tower of Babel. People were like, hey, we can build this great big tower and we can be the biggest, greatest tower, this most beautiful tower ever. In fact, we're so amazing and we're so great that we can get close to God. And what this maxing is all about is literally getting to the most ideal that we're as godlike as possible. That's literally what that's sounding like, right? We're not putting religion into it, but you can use God as the term of like, I'm trying to get to the highest, most elite possible. Well, where is that? Where is that? And who's the standard for that? And you're going to have shifting standards over time, over historic, as soon as society shifts, the standard shifts. And people are going to have different opinions of what actually these standards should be or are. And
but if you start on testosterone as a teenager, what are the implications of that for the rest of your life?
Well, yeah. So again, fertility. So you hit for fertility issues, and then you cardiovascular related issues, heart issues, concerns. It affects the liver in a very significant way, and its ability to actually produce testosterone. So your ability to produce testosterone decreases so that you almost become dependent on testosterone, and the testes will shrink and begin to shrivel up because they don't have any more need of developing that testosterone. And so if they're not doing it, they'll recede and recess. And so what will happen is you'll lose or begin to lose that function, or at least have the risk of losing that function.
And then what about going on a GLP-1, like semaglutide? I don't know what the...
Semaglutide, retatrutide, that's what a lot of them are using. Clavicular is using retatrutide. He's using a really high dose of it too.
Is he? So what is the implication of that, especially as a teenager? Or he's 20 now, but like I think the kids he's talking to,
they're teenagers for sure.
They're looking up to him. There's probably people a lot older than him who look up to him, but I just imagine him being like the Pied Piper of like a bunch of 14-year-olds on the internet, on these forums. They've got their phones and they know he's a little out there, but they're like, this guy went from like a nerd who didn't get girls and now he's like a king. So I'm gonna their kids are listening to him.
And he did that through Looksmaxxing, through improving his looks. There are a lot of things that you can do to Looksmax that are good, appropriate ways of doing that, right? There's working out, there's participating in physical activity, there's sports, there's lifting, right, at the gym. There's a variety of things that you can do to Looksmax. You can actually look at your physical appearance and how do I improve that? How do I trim better, right? How do I make sure that my hair is done well and done right? And he actually ascribes to men using makeup as well, which, that was done in the 1500s as well. It's been done for probably millennia that men would use makeup. It's, again, a lot of these are not new ideas. Looksmaxxing is a historical concept. It's been around forever. People have always wanted to look good. They've always wanted to, as he says, mog. They've wanted to look better than somebody around them.
You do better than someone else.
Yeah, they like that.
I had to look this up,
Yeah. So people have, this is a condition mentally in society that's been around for a long time. So it's not new to us, but it is something that's very present because of social media. It's dominant, maybe introduced way younger than ever before to our kids. So we've got to prepare them for this fact of there's a lot that you can do as an individual, as a child, to improve your physique, to improve your position, to improve the way that you look, the way that you dress, make sure your clothes fit properly, right? There's a lot of things that you can do to actually look good.
And I know that we know life is about so much more than that, and yet the truth is looks matter. So if you use GLP-1 in general, let alone as a 20-year-old, I mean, are you going to bounce back easier from it because you're 20, or is it going to mess you up more? Like,
if you use GLP-1s in general, one of the things we actually are starting to see too, and we mentioned this before, I think, but is some of the mental health related effects. And I think the mental health game here cannot be misstated, or should not be pushed back, because the fact of the matter is, GLP-1 does have not just an endocrine or an insulin regulation effect. It actually has also an effect in the neurotransmitters and the dopamine. And so we are seeing that people are actually, if they're on GLP-1, especially for longer periods of time, that they have a harder time engaging with in a relationship, and eye-to-eye contact and things like that as well. They have more difficulty experiencing that emotional connection and that intimacy. And so it's difficult because what you're trying to do is put yourself in a position. You're trying to put yourself in a position to be able to attract more of that into your life by using some of these medications. And yet these medications actually take your physiology and put your physiology in a position where you can't exactly, or probably won't, experience the true depth of joy that your physiology can offer better than any other drug that's ever been invented in life, right? It can provide that for you. Your physiology can give you that, but it comes from within. It's not something that's exogenous. It doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. And so that can only come from within you. And so if you're building this with the idea that, hey, if I just get a little bit more lean, I can attract more, one night stands, or I can attract more, dates, or people will like me better, or I'll get a better job. Well, great. Maybe you'll get there, and you'll make that goal work, and you'll realize it in your life. But then what will you have? What will you have emotionally, spiritually? Right? What will that experience be? Because we know a lot of people who are filthy rich and depressed as all get out. And
I'm sure without naming like you're a natural health practitioner in a very well-to-do community. So I'm sure you see lots of folks who have done all the material gain in the world and still are like kind of feeling empty. Listen, we've all felt empty.
Yeah,
it's not to malign any of your patients. I just
Sure.
mean that like you see the human condition firsthand, right?
Yeah, and people do. They find consolation, or they find respite in a bottle, right? Or they find it in certain places, in a drug, or they'll find it in a variety of different things. But those are not true places of true joy. Again, we're getting back to like what really is going to bring human race and humanity that self-satisfaction.
I've seen interviews with Clavicular. He's like, "What's the ROI on relationships?"
Yeah.
And he's serious. He's like, I'd rather
zero.
get my.
He says they're worse.
He's like, I'd rather get my hourly streaming rate. Like, why would I go on a date with the girl if I'm not streaming it?
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, because I see what he's saying, but having lived 4 decades now, I'm like, but that's kind of what life's about is relationships and like opening up your heart and loving. And I know there's a lot of other things we got to provide.
Well, that's what we think life's about.
We got to provide as men. We got to do all these things. You know, you can't live if you don't have money. I get like there are certain things that you got to do, and status and money and all those things are part of the dance. But like, I'm pretty sure love and connection is a very important part of this whole thing, and it doesn't seem like he cares about that. And that's what's like troubling to me. Again, because he's I can't sit here and tell a 20-year-old how to feel.
Yeah.
Because I'm not 20 anymore.
Yeah. Well,
but he's influencing our kids.
And to be fair to him too, he does say that a 30-year-old who has that same mentality is wrong.
Oh, he does?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So he's saying that's a coping mechanism, right? So he's like, no, the reality is we're doing this to get to a state. So he's trying to get to a state where he can attract, right, or have essentially wealth, reach his goals, and then, maybe attract a relationship. He hasn't suggested anything like that yet, but he has made a statement that I've heard where he said he doesn't subscribe with the idea of men in their 30s also saying that relationships are not of worth, because he's like, look, you're already like getting outside of your biological prime. You're already out of it, and if you haven't done what you should do, right, to reproduce or to contribute at this point, then what's the point, right? So yes, he's not entirely wrong. There are things that you want to do in life in general. You want to put yourself and your station in the best place possible. What I'm saying is I don't think pharmaceuticals are there. And I think with how easy he casts away these relationships, and he's like, nah, I'll just sit at my computer all day long. I'll just work with my methamphetamines, and I'll just work with my testosterone and all these other.
He's dabbled with meth. I don't think he does it often. I think he does take Adderall though.
He takes meth.
I thought he talked about that almost like a headline, and he just like tried it a few times, and he doesn't think maybe he does take meth. I don't know, but he's stimulants.
It's called digoxin. It's a medication.
Oh, okay.
It's a medication, but it is meth. Yeah.
Because having been on Adderall in my past, I watch interviews with him, and it kind of seems like someone who's been like up all night, who's like exhausted, and the brain is exhausted.
Yeah.
And you're like kind of talking slowly, but inside you're like, oh, I'm so revved up right now. Ooh, I love the feeling of this amphetamine. But you're just kind of keeping it cool as you kind of talk. It reminded me of that state when I would stay up for 40 hours, studying for a test in college. And that was recreational Adderall use, by the way, not prescription. But later on I got a prescription. Anyways, just having been a younger man and tried amphetamines in my life, I'm like, part of that seems familiar to me, and also kind of like a vacancy in his eyes and soul. What about this idea that, okay, he's on testosterone, which could promote hair loss. So at age 20, he's on a prescription to help his hair. What's the prescription, and is there a downfall to that?
Well, I think is it finasteride that he's using? I don't recall exactly right now which medication exactly he's using for hair loss, but is there a downside to that medication, there's downsides to using multiple medications, because first of all, there's really no cross reaction studies that we have. Like, let's look at, okay, testosterone and meth, and then let's look at finasteride and all these medications that we're taking in a single day. Have we ever done a study where all of those are actually mixing together? Right? We don't have the studies to suggest, oh, these medications all mix together and their negative effects, their negative impact. So what he's doing is really just, he's experimenting on himself and we're watching it, right? So he is the test subject and it's only one. So we don't really
Reminds me of Brian Johnson in some ways.
Totally.
You know, the don't die guy.
Except from a totally different perspective. Brian Johnson wants to live. He wants to live as long as possible.
And I've heard Clavicular say, I'm not a big longevity guy. I literally heard that soundbite.
And so Clavicular's, his whole perspective is anti-longevity, right? He's like, I want to get to the goal of my pinnacle. I want to get to my pinnacle as fast as possible. I want to get to the top of the hill as quickly as possible.
Doesn't everybody?
Yes,
like deep
everyone
down?
does.
So that's why it's resonating.
That's the truth of it, right?
Yeah.
It's like if I have something that I can get there, if something can get me there as quick as possible, why not do it? And that's why I say, well, yeah, we do have a story. We have different people that have done that throughout civilizations or attempted to do that. And right, it's like your pinnacle is God. That's your pinnacle, right? I don't know any other better descriptor for it, really, because that is, the ideal. Your pinnacle is the ultimate ideal if we take God out of it and we just don't use that word, right? But it's like, that is your pinnacle. So what's the fastest you can get there? Well, the fastest you can get there, well, that's interesting. That's an interesting concept because really we've seen cultures attempt to do that and then the society completely just dissolves. And
what do you mean?
So it's called the Tower of Babel. Are you familiar with that story? Yes.
And
we mentioned it earlier. So the Tower of Babel, ultimately they build this tower. They want to get to God. They think that they're so grandiose. I can just use these hormones. I can jumpstart it. Look at how great we are. Look at how amazing we are. Like we built this. And so we're going to be gods, right? We're going to get there. And so we'll build this tower. It's really more of a metaphor. It's an analogy than anything else. It's not literally a tower. The idea is to say, man, a culture, a civilization that thinks that it can, looks max its way to the ultimate deification will sooner than later fall. That's what that's saying. And so, yes, do we want to Looksmaxx? 100% we want to, but the way we should look at that is presenting ourselves in as, clean and respectable way as possible, having a clean haircut. It's like, what are things that I can do? I can dress well. I can make sure my clothes are well fitted. You know what I mean? It's like there's a variety of different things. Your hair, getting your hair done appropriately,
there's no
that you
reason
can
why
do
a teenager
that don't
can't
require
be
chemicals.
lifting often and see amazing results, right?
100%.
Like
and they
guys
do
our
all the
age
time.
are not going to get the rapid results that the teenagers will by just hitting the gym.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I mean, imagine hitting the gym, adding steroids to it.
Yeah, well,
how quickly
if you do, it'll be really quick because he got years and years. You have to work out for a while. It takes a while, right, to work out and to really get fit and to get lean.
You get a physique where it's like, I look good in LG.
If you got the nice V, if you got the nice V and you got the lats and everything, it takes time. It takes time and commitment, and that's with a lot of hard work. But if you start adding hormones on there, is it a cheat code? Yes, and the youth love cheat codes, okay? But at the same time, we have to beware of cheat codes because cheat codes always come with a price, period. They always come with a price. And sometimes they come with the price that you didn't actually win that game. You didn't do it. You just got the cheat code, okay? And so someone can hold that over your head when you're, sitting down and, oh yeah, I beat this game. It's like, well, yeah, but you used this cheat code and that cheat code and this cheat code. Like, did you really win the game? Did you really win the game? Or did you actually cheat the game? And the reality is you're cheating the game. Okay? So what can we do? What can we do as much as possible to present ourselves as well as possible that doesn't come to the position or to the place of saying, I'm cheating the game? Clavicular knows he's cheating the game. When you literally say, you know what, I want to bypass my endocrine system, you're cheating the game. You're denying physiology. You're denying the endocrine system. You're denying the body. You're saying, I am greater than physiology. Man, what we have created, we've built the tower. We are gods. That's what you're saying. We can do better than what God has created. We can do better than what exists here. And the fact of the matter is, the truth is, you cannot, because you will see it crumble down.
When you promote a lot of natural herbs and medicine, you have a Chinese medicine background, and you have a whole, pharmacy back here. And your herbs, what you've said is the least invasive way possible. These help organ systems, help what's up and downstream, and they don't have negative side effects. So the body will take what it needs, it will discard the rest. Whereas I feel like with these pharmaceuticals, there's no free lunch. They have side effects. Is there anything we talk about that where it's like you can still achieve effects that you want with health by inputting certain supplements and medications that are natural versus pharmaceuticals? I don't know. We could ramble on this forever, but I really believe in what you do. And
we have herbals. We have testosterone supporting herbals. We have hormone supporting herbals, balancing herbals. We've put these things together specifically for patients to help their physiology, to help the liver, to help the pituitary to secrete human growth factor, to help the body actually produce these things, right? We have failure to thrive type herbals that we've put together as well. So we do have all these formulas and herbals that help the body, that promote within the body these type of effects. Okay?
And that's not a cheat code?
It's not a cheat code. Well, it's just as much a cheat code, I guess, as using plants or eating food, right? So really, that's what we're directing you towards is, here's plants, your body, we're going to give the information to your body, and then your body's going to take up the information and utilize it appropriately, okay? So what he's doing is he's saying, you know what, I'm going to bypass the plant, I'll bypass all of that. I'm just going to go straight to the hormone that your body, that the plant is designed to nourish the organ, that the organ actually produces, that hormone, right, that the organ produces. He's going to say, okay, I'm going to take the synthetic hormone and I'm going to replace that in my body now. So I'm going to take higher amounts of it, okay? And again, if you have low testosterone, if you're under 300, you know what? Utilizing some sort of hormone promoting or testosterone promoting herbal or tincture or even hormone, I don't see a problem with that. There's not an issue with that. If you're doing it based on physiological labs and that's your purpose, that's your reason, and you're being guided by a physician who has looked at that and said, hey, yeah, we do need to get your T up. Great. Fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But the issue is, again, when you are, like Clavicular is, doing this all on his own, he's really doing this all to himself. He doesn't have like a team of doctors. He's not necessarily, looking at a doctor and saying, hey, what would be my best course of action here? He's doing all the research himself, and he's calling everyone else who basically disagrees with him a normie, right? Which essentially is a normal person, or what he means is someone who's below his level of intelligence. And so your IQ is not high enough. So your IQ is not high enough to basically engage with Clavicular. So he's going to continue to do what he does.
I'm less interested in just this one person as I am in my son watching someone like him. So to the parents out there, or to the teenager who thinks they're going to live forever and Looksmaxxing, at his extreme with lots of pharmaceuticals. We haven't even talked about hammering the facial bones, which I think is kind of clickbaity, but I think kids probably are hammering their facial bones.
I'm sure there's some that are, for sure.
Right? And then it promotes, when it regrows, better jaw. That's the whole idea.
Yeah, so Wolff's Law says bone under resistance, under stress. It's actually one of the things we use with astronauts, but not the hammer, but we use resistance training in space so that they don't lose bone density, right? So Wolff's Law actually refers to bone density. And so it's not necessarily a microfracture repair mechanism. That's not necessarily what Wolff's Law is meant to address. So no, microfractures, I would say, would probably just develop more possible scar tissue in the body. That scar tissue could develop, I guess, a little more plumpness, or higher look of cheekbones in the area, but he's doing a lot of things that he finds is working for him. And the fact of the matter is, you can, like with infants, for instance, with infants and young toddlers, if they have plagiocephaly, which is misshapen head or skull or craniomaxillary facial bones, which we work with. I work with those to make sure that they're all in alignment. If someone has an eye that's slightly higher than the other, or if they have a jaw that's recessed, we'll want to bring that forward, because sometimes even with tongue tie, doctors will look at it and say, oh yeah, they have tongue tie, but the fact of the matter is they actually have more of a recessed jaw, and they have TMJ, which is really tight, and they're an infant, they've just come out. But if you can massage that TMJ a little bit, it helps to bring that jaw forward, and then they nurse better, because then their tongue tie actually goes away. So there's a whole lot of things. I'm not saying that we don't want to look as good as possible. We do. What I'm saying is, let's be as minimally vain about it as possible, right? And let's be as maximally utilitarian. How much utility, I guess, am I getting out of this? And I think that there's a level of truth. The difficulty with Clavicular, and a lot of people listen to him, is that there is a level of truth that he speaks to. It's 100% true that better looking people are often believed more, right? Or their words that they say are trusted more, right, than somebody who's perhaps not as good looking. Or if you're in a workplace and this girl shows up and she's wearing a very pretty, nicely fitting dress, and a good-looking man says to her, "Hey, you look great today." Perfect. Like that's a good comment, I guess, right? But all of a sudden, if this kind of ugly, shabby-looking guy says to her, "Oh, you look so great today," all of a sudden she's like, "Whoa, get that weirdo out of here, like creepo," you know what I mean? And that's an interesting thing that we as a society have to address and deal with. But that's the truth that he speaks to, is, do we as individuals in our society base a lot of our opinions of people on looks? The face specifically. Not even just the physique, but the face specifically.
And I'm so convinced that how we treat our body and our GI health, and even the health of our soul, our human connection, our friendships, our emotions, all contributes to the look of your face as well. So if folks want to do it maybe a little more naturally, and they want to reach out to your office, get their labs done, talk about, some of these natural health solutions you have. You have herbals,
Absolutely.
You have supplements.
We've got herbals,
How
supplements.
can they reach out to Community Health and Wellness in Heber?
Fitness recommendations. We've got all sorts of stuff that can help you get more lean, and a lean, mean fighting machine. Is that how that works?
Sure.
No,
why not?
So there we go.
I mean, if you want to look like Dr. Dummar here in his mid-40s, you know what I mean? I feel like
this is non-drug. This is no pharmaceutical.
Yeah. And it's like, I think you're just like a living example. Like, some people may want more of that.
And I'm not ripped.
They may want more of that steroid look. I don't know.
I guess I should say I am ripped, but I am not like.
You're lean.
Yeah, I'm lean.
Yeah, and you feel good.
I feel good. I
just want to feel.
I live well, and I have good energy, and my digestion functions and works, and I get sick sometimes, and I have to get through that and treat myself through that. But yeah, I'm well.
You're a human.
Yeah.
How can they reach out to your office? Community
So
Health and
you can
Wellness?
find us at 435-657-3696.
You have a website too?
And we do have a website. It's chwheber.com. You can reach out to us there, or I would say text us is probably the quickest and easiest way to get a hold of us.
And we'll have the link to the website in the description below. Be well now, everybody.
Hope this was super interesting.
I was
fun
interested
for
in
us.
it. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Namaste.
Namaste.